Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with us for this special edition of House Calls, Real Docs, Real Talk. I'm Carrie Pena. With so many concerns and questions about COVID-19 continuing to filter in, the team at the American Heart Association felt that this was a great opportunity to stop and address your questions around how to stay safe in the current environment. So today we are bringing you this special edition to talk all things masks, hand sanitizer, social distancing, and a lot more. We will try to separate the facts from the myths and discuss how to keep yourself safe while you are out and about this holiday weekend and beyond. If you have a question you would like us to address today or on a future show, you can visit us at heart.org/housecalls and submit your question or drop it in the comments. A big part of our show, of course, is involvement from all of you, the audience, and we so appreciate all of you checking in with us for this weekly show. And again, this is a special edition of the show. Normally we air on Monday morning, so thank you all for being here. Throughout the show, we will break for a few questions, and we love to hear from all of you. All you have to do is text to answer, and you can text in AHA Live 22333. We won't ask for your name or any of your personal information. It's just a fun and easy way to answer and interact with us, and you will see right there the instructions on your screen right now. After you do that, we want you to please hit that share button or start a watch party and share it with someone you love or who you think could benefit from this information. And while you are doing all of that, I want to introduce our amazing expert. We are so fortunate to have him with us today. I'm joined now by Dr. Eduardo Sanchez. Dr. Sanchez is the Chief Medical Officer for Prevention at the American Heart Association. Dr. Sanchez is a board-certified family medicine doctor, and he's also the former Commissioner of Health for the state of Texas. Dr. Sanchez, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Pleased to be with you. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on the show. And before we go any farther, I just want to talk to the audience just for a moment here. I do think it is critically important that we note that the American Heart Association is an organization rooted in science. And so all of the information discussed today is guidance backed by what the science tells us, not opinions that we're going to be sharing on this show. And Dr. Sanchez, I wonder if we could begin by you just kind of commenting on that point.
Sure. We are a science-based organization. As a person who's a family doc and a person who's a public health physician, I've always been guided by what the science tells me. There's a couple of things that are really important about that. Sometimes science evolves. As we learn new things, what we thought yesterday may not be exactly true. And what seems like scientists not knowing what they're talking about is actually a demonstration that science is evolutionary. So even in this time of COVID, we've heard and said one thing, and then that has evolved over time, but there's an evidence base behind saying that. So that's one thing. I do want to say one thing today about our conversation. I want to encourage everybody to think about the common sense answer to whatever it is I am asked, because you can get to the right answer most of the time by using some common sense. And so I will be trying to use a common sense approach to answer some of the answers. Everything from masks to physical distancing to hand washing. And one thing I'll say before we get started, I will repeat this, I know, the 3 W's are the thing to always have in the back of your mind as we have this conversation and as we go live our lives, particularly a long weekend where we may be tempted to do some things or not do some things. The 3 W's: wash your hands, watch your distance, wear a mask. We'll come back to that, I know, as we talk today.
And we are getting a lot of terrific viewer questions here. We have so much to get to on this show. We want to go ahead and get started. And we want to start by asking our first audience question. We would love to know what part of normal life are you most excited to get back to? And we'll put that up there on the screen. What are you excited to get back to? Shopping, restaurants and bars, dating, maybe religious gatherings. I know a lot of folks have been really wanting to get back to church, even though a lot of religious organizations have done a great job putting on virtual gatherings. Are you excited to get back to the gym? Or have you forgotten what normal is? So we'll leave that up there, and you can text your answer to 22333, and we do put your answers up on the screen as we get them. I see a lot of people interacting with us already. And doctor, I just wonder, for you personally, what is it like for you where you are, and what do you personally look forward to?
I look forward to not having to remember the three W's, whatever I'm doing. So I live in Dallas, Texas, where early on during the COVID pandemic, we had things under control. We were doing as a community all the things that needed to be done. Staying home most of the time, really good instructions from public health authorities about the three W's, not necessarily using those words. But we started reopening, and I think people let down their guard, didn't address the three W's as they were out. And we, like so many other communities and so many other states in the United States, are beginning to see a really dramatic uptick in activity. I think that's one thing that I would say is that whatever it is that you're going to do, know what's going on in your community. If there's a lot of activity and your local health department, your state health department can help you figure that out, then exercise more caution about being out and about. And if there's minimal activity, still practice the three W's, but you can be a little bit more confident that your risk of acquiring COVID-19 is lower than if there's a lot of activity in your community.
Yeah, that's very important. And we'll just hold this up for just a beat longer as I say hi to some of our viewers. Lavert Mamani Flores, I hope I said your name correctly. Thank you for sending us the hello emoji. And Karen Bice, thank you very much for being here. And to one of our other followers here, Janine Ball Ringy, thank you very much to all of you for being here. We want to get to as many questions as we can here on the show. I'll go ahead and get started now with Health in the Headlines. And today, as we open up with Health in the Headlines, we want to let you know how this goes. Each week on our show, we select one headline that has grabbed our attention, and we think that you, the viewers, would appreciate some clarity on. This week's headline is from CNN Health, and it reads, I'm quoting here, "Want to prevent another shutdown? Save 33,000 and protect yourself? Wear a face mask," doctors say. So Dr. Sanchez, I would love to get your thoughts on this headline. And this article really speaks to the changing information, it seems, that we are getting on face masks. And can you talk to us a little bit about why this information has seemed to change, and it's caused quite a bit of confusion from state to state?
Well, again, the science is evolving at its pace. And then the uptake, the translation of that science into policy or action sometimes lags, sometimes is a little bit ahead. In many communities and in many individuals, we're wearing masks before it became a thing that our public health authorities were saying was critically important. But you will remember, it's been months now since we first heard the CDC suggest that if people were out in public, they should wear their language facial coverings. And in fact, in a conversation with my mother, 85 years old, who lives in Pembroke Pines, who was whining a little bit about staying at home. She's 85, but man, she's an active lady. And talking to me about all the information she had, really bad information. So I'm so pleased to be a part of this to sort of get the story right. One of the things I suggested to her was go to the CDC website. There's actually a pattern on how to make a mask. She made herself a mask. She made masks for other people. And she began before it was a thing that was required in the community that she lives in. And in fact, I have a whole bunch of show and tell because I was inspired by my mom, and I sewed myself a mask. I used one of my dad's old handkerchiefs. His name is in there, Eduardo Sanchez. And I began using a mask again before it was something that was required and or mandated in my community.
And I'll read a comment here quickly that I know will make you happy, Dr. Rachel McCarthy, following along with us online, says, I always drive to the edge of my neighborhood and then have to turn around because I forgot my mask. So she is conscientious when she's going out in public. We will take a beat now and ask our great crew in the booth to run You Asked, We Answer. And in You Asked, We Answer, we focused on your questions. Each week, we ask you to submit your questions, and we answer them live here on the air. In our show on Monday, we addressed questions around caregiving. It was a terrific episode, and how to handle caregiving during the current pandemic. If you missed that episode and you'd like to check it out, you can visit House Call's website at heart.org/housecalls, where you can find all of our previous episodes. Today, in this special edition, we are talking about coronavirus safety tips, precautions, especially important as we go into the holiday weekend here, where we know so many people will be out and about and trying to navigate how to do it safely. So we have received a lot of questions. I'm going to go ahead and dive in now. Dr. Sanchez, our first question comes to us from Celeste in Vermont. And Celeste asks, the information around antibacterial hand soap versus regular hand soaps can be confusing. Is one better than the other in protecting against COVID-19?
So let's remember one thing. COVID-19 is a virus, not a bacteria. Doesn't mean that antibacterial won't work. But the bottom line is that any soap really, is going to be a good thing to use. What's more important is the technique of how you wash your hands. Spend 20 minutes. That's a really long time. Take 20 seconds washing your hands. You need to make sure that you are getting in all the nooks and crannies, particularly between the fingers. And the soap, whether it's antibacterial or just regular soap, two things happen. One, the soap has an effect of disabling the virus. That's a fancy terminology. Think of it like a Star Trek torpedo at an enemy ship. It just destroys the outer shell of the virus. The other thing is that washing your hands for 20 seconds mechanically removes the virus from your hands as well. So I would say don't spend a lot of time, whether it's antibacterial or regular soap. Spend 20 seconds very, very vigorously washing your hands very, very frequently throughout the day. Anytime you're out and about, anytime you think, did I touch something? Wash your hands. I'm presuming that we're going to get to the next thing. If you're in a place where it's not convenient to wash your hands, you really ought to have some hand sanitizer around in your car, in your purse, in your backpack. I'm going to say something about in your car. If you're sometimes leaving your mask in your car, keep one in the car all the time. You'll always know where it is. You won't have to turn around mid-trip.
Yeah, that's wonderful advice. And Debbie Poole just checked in with us. Debbie, thank you so much for watching. And she says that she began wearing the mask before it was mandated. Our next question comes to us from Laura in Cleveland. And Laura asks, does the material of the mask that I choose make a difference? I've heard that some disposables contain chemicals.
So I'm going to show off a little bit because I got the coolest mask ever the other day. Here it is. I'm going to talk through it for a second. So again, let's think common sense. The really, really important thing about masks right now and the instructions to use them is to prevent the person who's wearing the mask from getting somebody else sick. And you may say to yourself, well, I'm not sick. I'm not going to get anyone else sick. If you're out and about and you're interacting with people, there's a chance that you will have acquired COVID-19, and up to 40% early on, people have no symptoms and are spreading the disease. The only way to get COVID-19 is to come in contact with someone with COVID-19. So if you're out and about, that increases the likelihood. Back to common sense. Wearing the mask is to protect others, and as long as it's a barrier that's up close to your nose and mouth, covering both, it probably works pretty well. There's some suggestions that surgical masks work a little bit better than these. and I'm being really, really intentional in using the word a little bit. The idea of wearing the mask, whatever it is, 3 layers of material, probably better than 2, but the mask is the thing that the common sense says is going to work. I did see somebody wearing something that seemed very sheer to me yesterday, and I almost felt obliged to say, ma'am, that probably isn't working in either direction. I held it to myself. Maybe I was wrong to do so, but something like this that's thick, this is 2 layers for sure, is going to work better than something that's really sheer, like a pantyhose. I don't think that that's going to be the most effective way to protect others. And these masks, again, using common sense, there's some degree of protection. It's just not going to be the kind of protection that you get wearing something like this. This is an N95 mask. You can't buy those right now. I have this because my mother-in-law, who lives really close by and is not a pathological hoarder, but has a supply of everything you can imagine. She had a little bit of N95, and I say that in a very loving way, because there are times when I need stuff and I go to Gloria's because I know it's going to be there. She has some N95 masks. That's the ultimate protection. And I would hope that if we're going to be living with COVID for a really long time, we're going to fix the supply chain issues that will get COVID, will get those N95 masks in abundance for anyone in the healthcare sector, but also have them available particularly for people who may be vulnerable in the community, so they may be able to get out and about a little bit more than they could and should right now.
Well, good thing that you clarified, and so that you were saying that in a very loving way, in case Gloria is watching us this morning. We don't want you to get into any trouble after the show.
I love her dearly, and I wouldn't have had that to show if it weren't for Gloria.
Good on you, Gloria. And now we're going to go to Tyrell in Jackson, Tennessee. Hi, Tyrell, and thank you so much for taking part in the show. He asks, there are so many companies and brands getting into making hand sanitizers these days. Is there a percentage of alcohol needed to be effective? Are there chemicals that we should stay away from? And how do I know what to buy?
So I'll start with the last one. Read the label. And if there aren't ingredients on it, don't buy it. If you don't know what it's made up of, do not buy it. The CDC recommends for what they call alcohol-based hand rub, ABHR, as if we needed another acronym, that you look for at least 60% ethanol, that's ethanol, or at least 70% isopropanol, and that's propanol. Those are both alcohols. One thing to avoid, if it says methanol, avoid it. Methanol is something is really dangerous if you ingest. Ethanol, not so much. Isopropanol, probably you shouldn't be drinking any of these, but methanol is really dangerous. And there have been reports in the press of people getting into a lot of trouble drinking methanol-based sanitizer. Don't know what they were thinking, but not a good idea.
Let's move on to a question from Mindy in Georgia. And Mindy says, I'm struggling to wear a mask in this heat. What would you recommend? And does it matter if my mask gets damp from sweat in the heat? Is it still effective? And doctor, you're probably faced with the same thing, because you said it's really hot where you are as well.
It is extraordinarily hot and humid in Dallas right now. Again, critically important that the mask cover your nose, cover your mouth, kind of reach around the chin. What that does is that it keeps the stuff that comes out of our mouth and nose, another technical term, from reaching another person. So the extent to which it's nice and tight is really important. They are uncomfortable. There's no doubt about it. And what I would say is figure out how you can find yourself in a place where you can take a break every now and then from wearing the mask. These are really nice the way these are designed, because you can sort of carry it like a little tiny purse, stick it in your pocket. But when you're not around people, and try to avoid folks. In fact, let me mention another 3 letters. Those are the 3 C's. These are things to avoid. Avoid closed spaces, avoid crowded places, and avoid close conversations with people who are not in your household. All of those are things that are going to increase the likelihood that where there is COVID in the community, you may come into contact with and be exposed to somebody who has it. As for the humidity, so I said get 2 masks, one that you keep in your car. I would say that in this time when you may be out and about, you may be sweating, you might want to have, no, let me change that. I recommend you have a backup mask, because when they get humid, more than whether it protects you or not, or protects others or not, it just gets even more difficult to have on your face, right? It feels even hotter. You're not moving air. So if you have an extra mask that can dry out while you're wearing your backup or your backups, that's what I would recommend. And right now, there just seems to be all kinds of opportunity to buy masks out there with every single kind of personal statement that you might want, reminding you that I have one with the AHA logo on it. Buying masks, not a losing proposition. You're gonna need to wear them for a little while, and just place them and have one in the car, have one in the house, and have a few in your pockets or your purse.
Let's take a question now from Alex in Scottsdale. And Scottsdale is located very close to where we are. We're in Phoenix. Our studios are in Phoenix. So hi, Alex. Thanks for submitting this question. He says, he or she says, face shield or face mask? Which one gives me better protection? Doctor?
The science right now says face mask rather than face shield. It's not clear that face shields provide, for one thing, it's not clear that they serve as a very good source barrier. So remember, the primary reason we advise people to wear masks is so that if they are asymptomatic spreaders, they minimize the likelihood that they're going to spread to others. Masks, shields don't work as well. If you just think, here's common sense. The mask is right up against your face, right? So it just kind of catches the droplets. When you're wearing a shield out here, the air dynamics are going to deflect that air around you, and while you may not infect people in front of you, you may be infecting people behind you. The evidence is not really clear on face shields. The language from the CDC, I'm going to read this. It is not known if they provide benefit as a source barrier. The CDC does not recommend face shields for every day or as a substitute for masks. However, if you're going to be in a place where there is sustained close contact, think barbers, in places where people are doing that. You can tell by looking at me, I haven't been to a barber in a while. Barbers might ought to be wearing a face shield so that they can protect the customer from anything in addition to the mask. So face shield and a mask, double protection for the customer.
One last question here, and then we'll take a break for polling. I want to get, though, to Dean from South Carolina, who asks, what is the biggest risk, airborne transmission or contact transmission via infected surface? How does wearing a mask help?
That is a great question. Airborne, by far more likely. However, it is possible if I have COVID-19 in my body and I walk by something and cough, and let's say a rail at a park, and somebody walks right behind me, touches that guardrail and touches their face, they have a likelihood of acquiring COVID-19. So again, the 3 W's are really, really important. Washing your hands, including and avoiding putting your hands. Let's do the accompanying part of that is keep your hands away from your face, keep your hands away from rails and doorknobs to the extent that you can. Use parts of your body that maybe will assist you. Wash your hands if you touch those things. Make sure you don't touch your face in between. Watch your distance. That's the second W. The more time that goes by between somebody having touched something and you touching it, the lower the risk. I'm not going to tell you that seconds matter, but I will tell you that seconds might matter. What matters more is washing your hands, watching your distance, and then wearing that mask, because back to the original question, air droplet, much, much more likely to be how you acquire COVID-19 than touching something that somebody else coughed, sneezed, or spit on. God forbid, but it does happen.
Very good information, Doctor. And we'll take a quick break now for polling, and then we'll move to more questions here. But let's take a polling break. If you joined us later in the show and missed our earlier question, you can start by texting AHA Live to 22333. If you already registered, then you don't have to do it again. You just get ready and text your next answer to 22333. So here we go. As we talk so much about masks and why it's important for people to wear them, we'd love for you to tell us, do you always wear a mask when out in public? And you can just go ahead and text in your answer. Again, they're not capturing your information when you use that text feature. It's just a quick and easy way for you to participate in the show. And you can see right now, a lot of folks are saying sometimes, but not always. And Doctor, you've been sharing so much really important information as we hang on this for just a quick beat. I just wonder, in your mind as a medical professional, can you understand the frustration state to state, given that it's been, the surge and then flatten the curve. And so each state is a little bit different. And I think people out there are really trying to navigate this and do their best.
I definitely understand the frustration. I definitely understand the confusion, but I will be clear. The only way to get COVID-19, irrespective of what anybody says, please hear me, is to be in contact with someone else who has COVID-19. And the only things that we have to protect ourselves at a population level, at a personal level, are fairly primitive. They are the 3 W's and the 3 C's, and they can't be overly repeated. Washing your hands, physical distancing. I prefer the term physical distancing because we can be close to one another without necessarily being closer than 6 feet or being exactly in the same room, and wearing a mask. And then the 3 C's, avoid closed spaces. Restaurants inside, particularly with lots of people, it's just stuff's potentially spreading. Avoid crowded places. You can always go to the edge of that crowded place or beyond that crowded place and avoid the crowd. And then avoiding close conversations. We've all got to learn to be able to talk 6 feet away if that person doesn't live with us. But I don't want to underappreciate that confusion and frustration are both part of what's going on. Again, my answer to where I want to be as soon as possible is to not have to think about the 3 W's at all. But that's not reality. And we do have to contend with reality. I will say this, we're coming up on July 4th weekend, Independence Day weekend. Please, please, please think about those 3 W's, think about the 3 C's, be creative. Be creative. There are ways to get around and do some things with people without necessarily violating either the 3 W's or the 3 C's. In our neighborhood, we do these get-togethers where we have little configurations of those who live in a household. We're more than 6 feet apart, and we can yuck it up just like we used to before, and we're a little bit closer. So be careful and be creative.
We are just getting flooded with questions for you today, Doctor. I'm going to get to our next polling question here in just a moment. I'll just touch on the respondents so far saying 64% saying yes, that they do always wear a mask when out in public. I have a quick question here from Jason Dyer, our friend. He says, so if you have to touch your face, maybe from sweat or insects, if outside exercising or just a random itch, is it better to use a tissue or a section of a sleeve?
That's a great, so absolutely. So the degree to it, that's a great question, Jason Dyer, who I know. That's a really great question. If you're out and about and you have an itch or you have some sweat, using you know, part of what you're wearing to do so is going to keep you from using your fingers that are the things that sometimes end up in your mouth, in your nose, in your eyes, unconsciously, and can provide the means by which virus on your hands gets to your face. I will add, though, that as soon as you're done with that workout, as soon as you even have the thought, I just touch my face no matter how, begin thinking about, when am I going to wash my hands again? And again, we may all be turning into obsessive compulsive clean freaks, but better to be an obsessive compulsive COVID-19 clean freak than the opposite, I would say.
Let's go ahead and let's throw up our next poll question here, and then I'll move on to more viewer questions, because we do have quite a few to get to. Right here, I'd like to ask you guys, what best describes how you've been feeling during the quarantine? You can see there, been so busy, I haven't taken stock, full of anxiety and frustration, down and in a funk, or nothing has changed. As we hang on this for a few moments here, Doctor, I'd love to just get your thoughts about the people you interact with. Are people feeling in your who you interact with, is your sense that people are staying pretty upbeat, or are you concerned about the overall emotional toll that this is taking?
That's a great question. I think I would characterize things as we all are, it fluxes, there's flux and change, right? So there's times where I feel okay, but there's times where you just have that thought like, man, I'm doing it this way again because of COVID-19, which is a perfectly normal reaction. So I think that there's a mix of being busy, feeling anxious, and being in a funk. And it's not all the same at the same time. I think that we should all be in touch with kind of how we're feeling, and figure out how we might overcome that. One of my ways is to engage in some physical activity. One of my ways, I sort of preach this a little bit, is to just stop for a moment, take a deep breath, and just think a little bit. One of my ways is to engage with other people, reach out to my mom or to Gloria, my mother-in-law, or my wife. And I think that being mindful of how other people are feeling and tapping into that and allowing people to vent about feeling frustrated or vent about being in a funk, and for you to listen, and if possible, assist, whatever that may be. Sometimes just listening is enough. But I would say that most of us, if there had been all of the above option E, probably lots of people would have answered that, because I suspect that it fluctuates throughout the day and throughout the week, depending on what's going on.
Yeah, very good. And thanks to everyone who's been interacting with us on the show. You can see where that poll question is as we speak right now. I want to move on to more viewer questions. And as we do, I want to say thank you very much to Sean McCullers for interacting with us. And thank you to everyone. We're just getting so many incredible questions in here. And on that note, let me move to the next one. Raymond from Vancouver asks, my wife is on the front lines and always wears a PPE at work, practices social distancing, and practices good hand washing. In our home, is it safe to not wear masks since she is taking all the precautions needed at work?
That's a really, really important question, and it's all a question of, on the one hand, applying some common sense, and on the other hand, some practicality. And on the other hand, the practicality about the reality. So in the best of worlds, if it were possible for your wife to wear a mask in the house, then everyone in the household would be better protected. But again, if she's lowering her risk as much as is practical in the place where she works, then we have to be pragmatic. If you were to tell me that an 85-year-old person or somebody with an underlying medical condition lives in that house, I would say you might think about things a little bit differently. You can still be in the same house and not necessarily wear a mask by using some really, really good physical distancing, staying away, sitting at opposite ends of a table, and doing everything you can to apply the wash your hands and the social distancing, and understanding that the only way your wife can get somebody sick is to cough in or sneeze on them, and then do the things that make sense. All of us are out and about. Every time we go out, we are exposing ourselves to some extent. A hospital is a different place than a supermarket. But one of our messages right now, and I will be very, very take advantage right now of using this platform to say so, we have and are launching a platform, Don't Die of Doubt. There are too many people who are experiencing very scary symptoms that could be heart attacks, could be strokes, could be heart failure, and they are afraid to go to the hospital. I do want to say that right now, if you are a person who's experiencing that, has experienced it, experiences down the road, or you're with someone who does, call 911. A hospital emergency department is a safer place to be as it relates to COVID-19 than the supermarket, for all the reasons that we just talked about now.
I want to move on to Sandra from Atlanta now, Doctor. Kids need social interaction, Sandra says, and don't necessarily understand why and how to wear a mask. If we limit the children we interact with and practice social distancing, is it okay if they don't wear masks? I think this is a really great question, Doctor. I have 2 little kids myself, and it's tough for them trying to navigate this.
It's a really important question, and it's one of those trying to be pragmatic about what and how you approach that. If you are friends with a set of families that you feel pretty confident are doing all the things that you are doing as a family to protect yourselves, and minimizing the likelihood that COVID is coming into your home, then that's one consideration, right? Maybe it's okay to have play dates with a set of families that almost have an unwritten, but maybe even a stated commitment to do everything they can and to keep each other informed of what's going on. And I'm not saying this as medical advice. I'm saying this as common sense and being pragmatic. On the other hand, if it's a free-for-all, bunches of families coming together who don't know one another, and around which, and again, not to judge anybody, not to figure out anything other than a commitment and a sense of you have a sense that other family is being really, really responsible. So, maybe some of y'all have friends. We have friends with whom, for example, we've invited to dinner to our house. We sit at opposite ends of the table. We have figured out ways to be able to serve and do the things that we need to do in ways that don't expose them to us. But we received a call recently from someone who said, I might have been exposed to someone at work and think it's a good idea to not do this. That's the approach that we should collectively be taking to be responsible with one another and to use some common sense and be pragmatic. Am I advising you again to throw the kids together and throw caution to the wind? I am not. I'm saying be thoughtful about what you're doing, be cautious about what you're doing, be informed about what you're doing. Last thing I'll say, if you're in a community where there's a lot of COVID activity, and some of the families or people working in essential services or have to go to work and leave the house a lot, that's a different calculus than all the families. The parents are, the other extreme is the parents both work. They work from computers at home, and everything that they consume is delivered to them and left at their door. That's like the perfect example. But the other extreme, take that into consideration as you decide. That was a lot of information, but it really boils down to use common sense and engage with people who you feel are also using common sense and are being very responsible.
I have 3 more questions I want to try to get to. We have people interacting with us from all across the United States and across the world, in fact. I want to go to Adriana from Newport. And Adriana asks, are asymptomatic people likely to spread COVID or not likely?
Well, there's very, very good scientific evidence that a fairly significant percentage, perhaps up to 40% of persons who have acquired COVID-19 and don't have symptoms are spreading. So asymptomatic spread is a thing. And as you've heard Tony Fauci say, Dr. Tony Fauci say, and other public health authorities, we wear masks because we may be one of those asymptomatic spreaders. The mask is meant to protect others from us, from the individual who may be the spreader. That may be the most important thing to convey today. The mask provides a little bit of protection for you. It provides much more protection for those around you. And as I like to say, in the spirit of loving your neighbor, wear a mask. Wearing a mask is an expression of love for those around you because you're going to do your best not to infect them if you happen to be an asymptomatic spreader.
And that leads me right to the next question here from Sylvia. Hi, Sylvia in Louisiana. And Dr. Sylvia asks, my city does not currently require wearing a mask, but I feel safer interacting in public only when wearing a mask. What advice do you have for having a rational conversation about why it is important to wear one?
Wow, that's a tough question. We're in this political time where mask wearing has turned into a statement of your political leanings. And what I would say is appeal to persons' common sense, appeal to persons' sense of responsibility to those around them, refer to the science, which was not developed with any political leaning in mind. It's just the objective evidence. Some of it comes from countries that have nothing to do with the politics of the United States. Wearing masks makes a difference. And right now, in states like Texas, California, Florida, Arizona, the only tools we have are to practice the 3 W's, practice the 3 C's, minimize contact with other people as much as possible, or we're going to continue seeing the activity we're seeing. That's not necessarily a good answer. And it may be that when it comes to this mask, not mask, it almost has to be done one-on-one, not some on one or one on some. That's kind of a challenge. But please continue wearing your mask. And say, when asked, why are you wearing a mask? I wear a mask to protect you from me. I think that's the best way to go.
And Doctor, I want to try to squeeze one more question in here. Anthony from New Jersey asks, what is AHA's advice for heart and stroke survivors and their caregivers as things begin to reopen? What extra precautions might patients need to take?
That's a great question. Again, I would exercise some common sense. I've been asked questions about, well, what if my blood pressure is controlled versus not so controlled? I would just say to you, we're all at risk. What's become abundantly clear is that you don't know if you're going to be that healthy person who has a bad time of COVID-19. But what we do know is that if you are a person with an underlying medical condition, having had a stroke, having had a heart attack, having cardiovascular disease of any sort, type 2 diabetes or obesity, you're at much higher risk. So as people go out and about, I would say exercise more caution than you're seeing around you. Be extra careful and insist that those around you also are careful because, again, they may be out and about, be asymptomatic spreaders who spread to that person who's got the underlying condition. Just be extra careful. Use a little bit of common sense. Absolutely wear a mask. Absolutely wash your hands. And stay the heck as far away from people as you can. And then the 3 C's, much more important for people with underlying conditions.
And Dr. Sanchez, I can't thank you enough for spending this time with us today and sharing so much insight and compassion with the audience. I would like to leave you a final word. A lot of people are still very fearful of what's to come. What words of inspiration would you like to share?
This is all about mask wearing. Please wear a mask, wash your hands, watch your distance. If we could do that at a 90+% level, what we are seeing would begin to flatten, and we could buy ourselves the time, because all of these measures are about buying time while a vaccine is being developed. The 3 W's. Take care this weekend. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Sanchez, and all of our best to your family, to your mom, and to Gloria. I hope everyone stays safe and well. Thank you so much, sir. And now we're going to move on to our weekly health hack. Health Hacks is brought to you by Stories of the Relentless, the American Heart Association's podcast. You will love this podcast. You can go to heart.org, iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play to find it, and you'll find more amazing stories and conversations on a variety of topics. So please go check it out, subscribe, share your thoughts in the reviews, and share it with your friends and families. We would certainly appreciate it. And this week's health hack comes to us from Sean in Michigan. Hey, Sean, from my home state of Michigan. Sean says he's been visiting his local farmers market now that summer is here, and he says it's the perfect place to stock up on fresh, seasonal fruits and veggies and support your local businesses at the same time. And second, it's a great way to get outside, enjoy the fresh air, and get in a little exercise too. I think that is a fantastic health hack. Sean, thank you so much. And remember, we feature a new tip each week. So if you have a great health hack that you'd like us to share on the show, you can go to heart.org/housecalls, and maybe next week you will see your idea live on the show. And to wrap up today, we want to bring it back to our audience. And what would you say? So we want to ask a few final questions here of all of you, our fantastic audience, and we've just had so many incredible interactions today. Thank you all so much. And first up, we want to know, do you feel like you have the knowledge to protect yourself and your family during this pandemic? If you've been with us throughout the show, you already know what to do. You just grab your phone and get ready to text your answer to 22333. And just answer the question, do you feel like you have the knowledge to protect yourself and your family during this pandemic? And there's the information. Once again, you can text AHA Live to 22333, and we'll see if we can throw up that poll question there and hang on that for a second. I know our crew was working so hard in the booth. They do a great job. Walter and Dia and Crystal and crew. Here's the poll question here, and we certainly appreciate all of you who interact with us. Really, the mission of this show, it's only been 5 weeks since we've been doing this show. The American Heart Association, of course, felt that it was vitally important during this time of uncertainty as the pandemic continues for the experts to speak directly to all of you and for you to be able to answer your questions and get some clarity, because the anxiety that we all feel a lot of times is brought on by uncertainty. So the whole mission here is to bring clarity, clear answers, and top experts like Dr. Eduardo Sanchez, who you just heard from there. And thank you so much to everyone who is writing into us right now. You can see the responses coming up there on the screen. And I will go ahead now and switch over to our final question of the day. And this addresses what you would like to hear about on the show. We'd love to ask you, which one of these topics would you be most interested in learning more about? You can see the options there. COVID-19 and mental health, anxiety and stress. That is a huge topic. At-risk patients. What do I need to know? Adjusting to reopening, COVID-19 and mental health with teens and children. So all of those topics obviously are very important, but we determine the editorial, if you will, for the next show based on what all of you write in to tell us. So we'll continue to monitor that even after today's live broadcast, and then determine what show we will bring you on Monday when we come back at our regularly scheduled time. And as we begin to wrap things up, guys, we could keep that up on the screen there for just a second. I do want to remind everyone too of the wonderful resource that was mentioned earlier by Dr. Sanchez, the American Heart Association's COVID-19 resources page. And this is really important For up-to-the-date information and guidance, you can visit heart.org/coronavirus. Again, that is heart.org/coronavirus. You can see it right there on the screen. It is updated almost daily with information and will always give you the most recent advice from the American Heart Association. And don't forget, as we'll leave that up on the screen there for just a second more as we watch those responses come in, don't forget, you can find all of our previous shows at heart.org/housecalls. And for the first time ever, we will be bringing you a House Calls after show. My friend Dia is going to be doing this to follow up on the highlights from today's show and answer some of the questions that we did not have time for today. We really got a lot of questions today. So you can look for that tomorrow on our social channels and on the American Heart Association's new podcast mentioned earlier in our show. We'll be bringing all of that to you. And there you can see a lot of people are writing into us to talk about what they would like to hear about next week. If you want to tune in, we welcome you to join us on Monday when we bring that show to you live. That is it for our special edition of House Calls. We look forward to seeing you all on Monday. And until then, enjoy your holiday weekend. I hope you and your family stay safe and stay healthy. I'm Carrie Pena. Thank you so much for being with us.
Home is meant to be our safe place, but heart attacks and strokes don't stay home. Don't avoid the ER out of anxiety. Don't die of doubt. Don't stay silent and don't stay home. If you have an emergency, call 911. When seconds count, the hospital is the safest place to be.
Learn more about House Calls, Real Docs, Real Talk, and submit your questions at heart.org/housecalls.